Welcome everyone
to Youth Week 2021. This is going to be our big podcast series for the year. So today we are talking about what is your utopia and asking each of you guys what is the change you want to see in your community and how as young people can we make that change.
You already know who we are. I'm Naz and this is Sienna, but let's go around and introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Nabilah. I use she, her pronouns. I live on Wongal land and I'm 17 years old.
Hi, I'm Astra. I'm 15 years old and I was actually born in London, but I moved to Sydney when I was about 7 and I've been living here ever since.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here.
So today we're going to be talking about our ideal worlds. So quickly, in one word, what is your utopia?
Climate change justice.
Nice. Astra?
Probably just sort of utopia would be like the word love, but if it were to make more sense, like just filled with love.
Nice.
We like that.
That's beautiful. Okay. So I want to start by asking, what does Youth Week mean to you guys, just so we can get a little bit of a flow happening. So Astra, do you want to go first this time?
Okay, I think what Youth Week sort of means to me is just sort of celebrating young people and what they can accomplish and what the future holds for them, probably.
Nice. Yeah, sick.
To me, it's about empowering youth of today to lead a better future.
Amazing. And I think this leads us on to our next question. What change do you guys want to see in the world or in your communities? And I know you've both touched on some of the things, but could you just elaborate? Maybe we can start off with Nabilah.
To me, it's to have government change and to lead with the community, climate justice but without First Nations justice, we can't have climate justice in general.
I think the change that I would like to see, that I wish was already a thing, but just sort of having compassion for one another, which I feel like is sometimes lacking.
Yeah.
And that sort of goes for everything. So, if you're black or Asian or just a person of colour, there's never really much compassion there. Or if you're genderqueer or if you're LGBTQ, there's just so many people are just lacking compassion. And, it goes on to other issues like women's rights and things like that.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And I think what we've heard, Nabilah, you are really passionate about structural change and using grassroots approaches to achieve climate change or climate justice and Indigenous justice, and you come from a very passionate and on a human level we need to be more compassionate to each other to see that change. And I love the way that those two interact, at least for me, in the sense that we can't have these changes unless we're compassionate to those around us. And so this leads me on to, sometimes change can be really intense and overwhelming for young people. It can make us feel a little hopeless because there's so much that needs to be changed. Where do we start from? And I think for me, it's really important to bring it in a little, bring it to those little actions, like being compassionate to each other.
Yeah. So before we came and sat down here, we asked you guys to pick out 2 cards up there with your strengths. So we want to talk a little bit about those and how you might be able to use those strengths to change, to bring about the change that you want, or how you already are using those strengths that you picked. So, do either of you guys want to talk about which strengths you picked?
I chose leader and organised because in order to organise big strikes such as September 21st in 2019, we needed to, School Strike for Climate as an organisation had to lead change in a way, and we had to organise a lot to have people power and to lead the
That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So I chose 3 because I like the number 3, because my favorite number is 6, and like 3 is like half of 6. Anyway, adventurous, hopeful, and creative. I noticed that I'm a lot more optimistic than a lot of people, and I feel like can be really helpful. Like obviously, if you're too hopeful, if you're too optimistic, you can be a little bit ignorant. But I think it can be really empowering to sort of, believe that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Even if all the facts are pointing to it, definitely not being okay. I can believe.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having optimism is definitely a very, very important strength and skill, just because of the world we live in today. There are a lot of things that, as you said, are not looking great, but we all need to believe that we can make that change, and having such young people like you guys with those strengths that you do have, the leadership, the organisation, the empowerment, and the compassion that you were talking about earlier, they're so important for young people to have, just because you guys are the leaders, you guys are the upcoming leaders. And someone said to me last year, we're not the leaders, young people aren't the leaders of tomorrow, they're the leaders of now. And I think that's really, really important to bring up with everything that's happened in the last year as well, because without the young people and being as strong as you guys are, we're not going to be able to make the change that we need to. And you guys are really bringing up some really important topics here.
And I couldn't agree more with you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Before we wrap up, I want you guys to share one thing that you want young people to know, one message that you'd like to give to young people.
Well, we were actually just discussing this earlier. I'll say what I would like to say to young people. We were talking about this earlier, and I said to be true to yourself and not let other people let you down, because you are the most important person to yourself, and you need to make sure that you are strong and that you believe in yourself. And that's what I would like to say to young people, is don't let other people push you down, because you are important and you are special.
And for me, I think it leads to your point. For me, kindness is really important. I think being kind to not only those around you, but to yourself. A lot of times when we talk about changing the world, we talk about the world at large, and sometimes changing your own world is just as important, and it's enough, it's sufficient. You don't have to go out there and be everyone's hero. As long as you are your own hero, that's enough.
I feel like I would probably say something along the lines of, no matter how big or how small the impact you make is still an impact, and like even if it is just making someone smile for that one day, it still means something to that one person.
Definitely. That's a really, really important point, yeah.
That was really nice. But I think what I would probably say, I think just sort of remembering to, what I would probably say is to react with kindness when you learn something that maybe makes you uncomfortable, when you hear about something that catches you off guard, for your first impulse to be love and kindness. And just because we are a younger generation, and people hold us to maybe higher standards of, I don't want to call it leftist thinking, because I don't want to make human rights into a political issue, but I guess people do say that like the younger generations are always more open to that sort of stuff, but it definitely does not mean that we can't, be homophobic or racist or transphobic, because there are so many people who are. So I think just remembering to be kind, even if you don't understand something.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been so inspiring to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for coming here. And I know that with everything that's been happening recently, it's been hard, but thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your voices and your stories, because, as I said, young people are the leaders of now, and it's so important to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for sharing your stories.
And tune in tomorrow for another episode.
Thank you so much for coming today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.